Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Fanzone Podcast, episode 49, and we're back with you again. Thank you all for tuning in. We can see all of you just about getting into the stream. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining. We've got a couple of new faces over in the chat, so thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it, and welcome in. If you are listening to this back on Spotify and wondering how you can get tuned in to the live episodes, and if you head over to our Twitter, all the details for our live streams are over there. But it's usually the day after every league game at 7:30. So if you fancy tuning in for a live episode, then you can do exactly that. As always.
Sorry, Ben. Sorry to interrupt. I'm going to keep an eye on Twitter as well in terms of the chat on there, because I had noticed when I watched it back previously, quite a few people were commenting on that. So obviously, fire away type of thing if you're watching through Twitter as well, and I'll keep an eye on that for us. Sorry, Ben.
Absolutely. You can catch us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. They're the platforms that we live stream on. So if any of those tickle your fancy, then head along. If you are watching on YouTube, leave a like on the episode. Subscribe to the channel. It's massively appreciated. And before we get into the good stuff, as always, we've got an important message for you. We would, of course, like to give a massive shout out and a huge thank you to Eco Warm Windows, your headline sponsor of the Fanzone Podcast this season. So thank you to Eco Warm Windows. If you want to find out more about the sponsors, then head over to our website, www.thefanzonepod.co.uk, and you can find out everything you need to know over there. So, without further ado, it is time, as always, for our post-match reaction. So we'll hand over to the panel, but you can also tune in at home. Send in your thoughts on how you thought our game against Derby County was, your post-match reactions. Share yours, and we'll pick some comments out of the chat to read. But, Ange, we'll go to you first. What did you make of our game against Derby?
Ladies first, eh?
Standard.
As it should be.
It were all right, weren't it? I thought the first 20 minutes or so we are absolutely flying. I thought we controlled it really well. We were up for it, loads of energy. That penalty of theirs, I couldn't see what had happened when. And then I think I've watched it back, and was it a push by Vic on one of their lads?
More than a push.
I didn't. Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, innit? He blew, didn't it, just before the ball at the back of the net from the corner. So, I don't know in that situation what I'd rather have. Whether I'd rather the goal stood or they got the penalty. I don't know. I'm in two minds about what I would want there. I wouldn't want either, to be fair. But yeah, and I think, do you know what? Absolutely credit to those boys for getting back. And was it 9 minutes we were back?
Yeah,
back up to 1-1. Thoroughly justified, and what a great little tricky manoeuvre from Joshua to earn that penalty. Much more like us. There's still little bits missing, but much more like us. Loved seeing Owen back in his first league game of the season, innit? I just feel very comfortable with him on the pitch. He's a joy to watch. I absolutely think he's got massive things to come, that boy, and I just hope he sits on the bench for all of the international matches. I hope he don't play him. Please, God, wrap him up in cotton wool. Both him and Dion. But yeah, no, I was no real complaints from me, other than we probably could have finished it off a little bit sooner. And I think everyone starts to get a little bit frustrated, don't they, when we're passing it around the box. But they're a big side, and it's like Ian said post match, you can't just be lofting them balls in. It's not. No. They're too small. Our front men are too small. So that frustration, I think we need to as a fan base just stop it. Go with it, people. Go with it.
There shouldn't be any frustration. I just, absolutely stop it.
Stop it.
And before you continue, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to give Daniel Buttery a shout out. I'm sure Ben's noticed it in the chat. He's actually in Mallorca Airport listening to the podcast, which is I think it's pretty cool. That, to be fair.
Thanks, Daniel.
And obviously, it's nice to see how far the podcast has gone that somebody's listening to us in Spain. So,
even though it will,
international.
Even though Callum Knowledge is the United fan, sorry about that result, Callum. Sorry, not sorry.
Which United?
Oh, for God's sake, Colin. Manchester.
Just to clarify that.
Just before we move on to you, gents, we're going to just pick up on some comments from the live chat. Brandon has said, what a weekend. Wanderers win, United and Wigan lost, and a mixed kebab with garlic mayo. Life is bliss.
Chili sauce. You need some chili on that.
Sweet chili sauce at that.
Sweet chili. It's got to be done. Mark Smith has popped a comment on and he said their goal was against the run play. They offered nothing. Yeah. Vic also did another push in the second half, which was lucky not to be given. I did think for the first 20 minutes we were really, really strong, and Brandon has actually echoed that, and he said first 20 minutes was the best I've seen us play for a long time, along with Wembley. I think that reaction that we were so desperate for after the Wigan game that didn't seem to come too fluidly at Burton, I think we started really well.
Can I, sorry, Ben, can I just jump on something?
Is it your old velvet tongue? Is that what you're jumping on?
Yeah, we'll go past that. That Matt is a friend of mine from years gone by and still is. And we won't go into that.
No, we really should go into that.
No, we won't. So I've lost my train of thought now. I'm not surprised.
Oh, bloody hell.
Since when were we playing in, I don't know, Champions League or Premier League yesterday? How many times does it happen? Shirts getting pulled, players getting manhandled at corners. It happens every week. If a penalty was given for every decision like that, you'd be giving 3 or 4 a game, and God knows how many free kicks. All of a sudden, it started to become a thing yesterday. That's League One football. It happens every single game without exception, and nothing's ever given. So, there's been a lot of today by Derby fans on social media. I understand it. We moan as well when decisions don't go our way. But I think you've got to be accepting of the fact that League One, it happens numerous times during a game.
I do. You're right, Chris. But I think there's an element of the level of inconsistencies across the caliber of the refereeing, essentially.
We know that though, don't we?
Well, obviously yesterday that our lads got warned on the corner that before they took it, what were going on, and obviously as did they, and we still continue to grapple. So I don't think we can be complaining really over that penalty, because I watched it back and we were watching the ball, was purely focused on his man and wrestled into the ground. So
it was. I think it probably going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, but it was a penalty.
Do you mean he's speaking in general?
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 incidents that were get used to it. Derby and us, we've been in this league for long enough to know that's what a game entails, So get over it. Sorry, Ben, I just had to get that off my chest because it was been bugging me all day.
Okay. Feel better now. Feel better.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Paddy's also put a comment on, and he said, we're a better team throughout the 90. We play 3 of the league's toughest teams at home already now, and it was a big win prior to the international period.
Yes.
Which is a good point. It sends the lads out on their international duties in high spirits, and they can come back still firing on all cylinders, and we can sort of put Wigan and perhaps Burton behind us. I don't think Burton was that bad. But it was an important 3 points. Chris, what did you make of the game on Saturday?
Yeah, same as Ange, really, and a number of the comments that have come in that we got off to an absolute flyer, played with confidence, put everything behind us. Crowd was good, weather was lovely. Look at me head. I'm glad I didn't have that big blanket. Jesus Christ.
Oh, we'd have boiled, wouldn't we, in that under that?
Oh, that would have been a Dutch oven, that, wouldn't it? My God. I think my only bugbear from yesterday, and obviously Everett's covered it off in his post-match and what have you, and I get it, the fact that we can't be lingering it into the box because we haven't got any presence. But I just think that some of our decision-making, which seemed to have improved, kind of regressed a little bit. Some of the balls that were low were just quite aimless. We were very, very indecisive with our movement and our final ball. We'll talk about it later. I thought that bringing Mendes Gomez on as a right back essentially causes cat in the house.
I do all my cat, by the way.
Is it your cat?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Just checking. I just thought it invited pressure, and they seem to exploit it. A lot of their stuff in that final 8 minutes came down that left-hand side. Gef's not been in the best form, should we just say? We'll keep it at that. And Mendes Gomez isn't a particularly defensive player, so I don't understand that. There was obviously a lack of defensive cover on the bench, but Forrester was there. So yeah, that's my only criticism. I thought we could have really put them to the sword a little bit yesterday. I know you've got to be patient, and the victory is more important, but I just think we could have made it a little bit more conclusive than we did. But all in all, belting. Yeah, belting.
Yeah.
I would certainly echo that. And funny enough, Callum actually said prior in the chat that we didn't create enough clear-cut chances, and that all were half chances apart from the penalty, which I think was a good point. And I think them going down to 10 probably made that even worse.
It did.
But there was definitely a lack of clear-cut chances, but I think large parts of that was probably due to the fact that when we were on the front foot, when they were down to 10, it was just, a wall of Derby players. Colin, how did you react to the match? What were your thoughts? I mean, if you could sum up the match in one word, what would you give it?
One word, Colin, one.
And then we'll move on.
Professional.
Yeah, like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. How did you react to Everett's subs? Were you equally confused when Mendes Gomez came on? Did you think there were perhaps other options there?
I thought, in terms of personnel yesterday, from a changes point of view, I had absolutely no qualms with them whatsoever. Of course, the centre forwards that he brought on obviously offered us a little bit of height when they were naturally going to get opportunities to sling the ball into the box and stuff, because that's essentially what they are. They're a set piece team in the most part. So I understand that. Mendes Gomez coming on, absolutely bring him on. I thought he could have picked up the ball well from in between the midfield and the forward line, and obviously pick up the loose balls, carry it and create, which I thought he probably what he wanted him to do. But I would have liked him to come on for Victor, for example, maybe. So obviously he could have that bit of a free roll, given the fact that they were down to 10 men. But the changes themselves, personnel-wise, I'm comfortable. I was comfortable with them. But as I said, I think it was a very professional performance, given the fact that it's all right, all well and good going down to 10 men, but it's sometimes your opposition going to 10 men. It's sometimes difficult to still kill the game off, and they managed it out well. I thought the defence was fantastic. A special mention to Owen Toll, whose versatility is just phenomenal. How comfortable he is able to play across 3 central positions in defence is very, very impressive. I thought it was excellent on against Middlesbrough as well, centrally, and then obviously seamlessly moved over to the left yesterday, and I thought it was great. So really, really good performance in that sense. I do agree with Chris. I think we were a little bit wasteful. That was evident in I think I think we really only created one really key or big opportunity, I think you might call it. There was only like you said, intricate passing along the box and stuff like that, which is obviously what we've become accustomed to. But yeah, it's a win, isn't it? It's going into the international break, winning and providing that the lads can come back nice and fresh. We can go again in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. I think the subs were a little bit confusing for me, but I quickly realised that it felt like Derby were playing a lot more direct. And were using long throw-ins quite frequently whenever they got them. And I think Dan and Jerome perhaps just offered a bit more in the air.
Well, that's why he brought them on, really. And obviously, if like Cameron Jerome offers his experience, done it. So if he gets an opportunity to kind of win a free kick and get us up the pitch and kill the game, slow it down a little bit, that's exactly what he would offer. I think Mendes Gomez, obviously, he probably looks at that as he's got a bit of pace on him, a bit of trickery, and he could probably kill the game if he got the chance, which kind of makes sense, really.
Yeah.
Two things from me. Just whilst Colin was talking, he's inspired me to think of a couple of things. I think what one of the big things that Owen Toll brings to the team generally, I mean, obviously aside from his defensive qualities, is that contrast with Ricardo Santos. Obviously, Santos is often accused of slowing us down too much. He's obviously, he's like almost like an NFL quarterback in the sense that he dictates a play from the back. He moves out slowly. How quickly Toll moves out of that defensive shape, and how he's willing to take a risk. So that ball into midfield is often a risky ball, but he has no issue in doing it. And I think it really, really complements our team in the sense that he is that contrast to Santos in that respect and moves the ball out a lot quicker. And I think it surprises a lot of teams. And I thought
he's a big lad as well. He shifts for a big lad, doesn't he?
He's very, very comfortable bringing the ball out as well, not just in terms of distributing the ball quicker and moving it, but coming out of that back line and driving into midfield and giving us options. It's really, really good.
He's confident in his own ability, and he's like a B-Tech version of Gary Cahill, basically.
Yeah, he reminds me of him so much. He's like almost like a hybrid of Gary Cahill and Gunnar Bergson.
Yeah, absolutely. If you listen to this, Owen, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but Gary Cahill was phenomenal, and you'll do very well to have the half a career that he had.
Big compliment. And secondly, how high does Erin Cashin wear his shorts?
I did think I saw Mini Cashin, I got to admit.
Oh my God! And his breakfast. Jeez. That's,
can I change the subject completely from Cashin? Obviously, like I said, I will keep an eye on Twitter. We've actually had a comment from a gentleman.
Are we tall?
No, a gentleman who lives in Florida who listens every week, which is nice. So yeah, thank you for that. You've not got a name, something or other, but yeah.
It's Monkey Magic.
Oh, it is, yeah, Monkey Magic, yeah.
Yeah, a big respect to the name as well. If it's a reference the BBC Two programme from the 80s, big respect. Sorry, show me age.
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
And that will just about lead us on very nicely to our Fanzone Man of the Match.
So, we'll do ours, but what we want is to see some names in the chat as well. Put who you think, who's your man of the match from yesterday. We'll start with Colin.
I wasn't expecting me. I don't know why. I think I'm usually last.
Foxed you.
I think there's several people who could deserve man of the match. I think after yesterday, obviously Dion Charles goes without saying. He took his goal, he took his penalty well, he ran the line well, he did a lot of stuff off the ball very well yesterday. Usual high quality performance. I thought Carl Dempsey was fantastic again. Pulling the defence and midfield all over the place, finding pockets in behind the midfield. Unplayable, really, Carl Dempsey, in the most part. I don't think he's had really one bad game this season, other than the one we won't mention anymore. Owen Tall, as we've mentioned, was fantastic yesterday. He's like he's never been away. Versatility is unbelievable. But I have to give it to Josh Sheehan yesterday. I thought he was unbelievable. The lad he's a player that I always thought he was, in terms of his ability to be able to control the game from any position really within that central area in midfield. The way he carries the ball, the way he pivots, he can go left, he can go right. There was a couple of instances yesterday when he was driving forward with the ball, very much reminded me of Mark Davis, which was very, very nice to see. Ghosting into the box, ball literally stuck to his foot. So offensively, he's offering stuff as well. Obviously, he won the penalty. I think he was just all over the place yesterday. I think he was brilliant. And I'd be very surprised if the majority weren't pointing in the direction of the little Welsh wizard. So, yeah, Josh Sheehan.
Josh Sheehan, thank you. Let's go, Chris.
Tough one, isn't it? Obviously, there's got to be a shout for Tolley. There's got to be a shout for Cogley. Someone who's not been mentioned, who I thought was excellent and got his obligatory yellow card, which was George. I just think.
What's he on now? How many is he on now?
I did laugh. Yeah, I did laugh, Chris, when he got booked yesterday. I thought you straight away. I thought he got booked. Done it again. He loves it.
He's anyway, straight after it, he was right in the ref's face and their players' face. He was giving it big uns. I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I just think he's getting better week on week.
How good would he be if he shaved his head?
Well, obviously, I'm all for that, but I don't know if he's
suited. Menace would he look if he had a proper buzz cut?
Yeah, buzz cut.
Yeah, a beard.
Yeah. It takes it takes a certain look to carry it off, though, Colk. You know what I'm saying? I think an unsung hero has got to be Santos for stepping back into the fold when
surprisingly,
didn't want anyone to know about it, as he said. But you can't not give it to Josh Sheehan. I think we need to temper this a little bit because he's a player for certain games, and when it works, it is ridiculous to watch at this level. I saw somebody yesterday. I think it was one of our fans who was comparing him or mentioning him in the same breath as Barry Bannon in terms of his midfield influence. It's a lot of it, the way that he holds himself and the way that he plays, and I can see where that's coming from. I'm not saying that he's Barry Bannon or comparable to, but I can definitely see where that comes from. And for me, he was head and shoulders yesterday. So my man in the match is
everyone.
Joshua.
He was I think, I don't know, for the people that didn't go, he played phenomenally well at Hillsborough last season, and that was the best game I'd seen him play prior to yesterday. I thought he was even better yesterday than he was at Hillsborough. So
that drop of the shoulder, and like you said, you can play with both feet, which enables him to do that, to rotate and drop that shoulder and confuse the hell out of the opposition.
He put his foot in as well yesterday, which was quite. Yeah. He was roughing it up a little bit, weren't he? Which was nice to see.
I think somebody mentioned it as well, and I think we need to mention someone who was singled out a few weeks ago for not bottling, for not committing to a tackle, and that was Randall Williams. And I thought yesterday there was one particular tackle which was absolutely magnificent, and he went in full-blooded, great timing, really well done. So yeah, but man of the match, Josh Sheehan.
Thanks, we got there in the end.
What time is it?
Benjamin, who's your man of the match?
Josh Sheehan. I don't need to say any more than else. Chris has, I think, covered all bases. So yeah, I'm going to give mine to Josh as well. I think he won 4 out of 4 duels according to who scored. 92% pass accuracy, 4 key passes. He's just an absolute unbelievable player at this level. His technical ability is off the charts. So for me, Josh Sheehan.
So, unfortunately, I am not going to make it a clean sweep for Josh, even though he does win the panel man of the match because there's 3 of you. And David Green is correct that I am going 0-2 for my man of the match. I just think it was such a... I like it when we have these weeks where we've got a couple of contenders. I'd much rather this than us there being one. The chat kind of went tall. We had a couple of Sheehan's, we had a shout out for Cogley and for Randall.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Twitter was saying the people that are watching on there, they all said tall as well.
Tall. Yeah. And I think I would have been happy as a panel, I think, with either of those. They were both outstanding. But yeah, so because it's a 3-1 for the panel, it's the man of the match for this week is Joshua Sheehan.
Superb.
There's some music on with that.
Yeah.
I got some music and so
Good choices all around. Like you said, Hans, the chat is pretty torn between, it feels, Toll and Sheehan. But we're going to miss out our usual pre-match presser. Obviously, the next game being game.
What? Can we not just put the picture up?
Yeah, put the picture up.
Put the picture up.
So for those of you who are listening on Spotify, you are missing out big time because every week you get to see an absolutely gorgeous photo of our Colin.
It's meant that. It never fails.
And I think just out of culture, I don't think we can actually ever change that picture now.
No.
I wouldn't expect you to be honest with you. No. Nor do I actually want you to. Keep it. Yeah.
But we will move on to our not newest, but relatively new segment. Hello.
Just explain to people why we're missing out my segment as well. Sorry.
Because Colin could be
Because Colin's crap.
We won't be doing a podcast for the Salford Cup game, so they didn't really feel like there was much need to preview it, and obviously Reading is quite a way off. So Colin made the executive decision that he wasn't going to do his segment today.
Well,
pretty much pretty much what happened, Colin.
There's not much point in us looking at a game that's weeks away. We could pick up injuries. Reading can pick up injuries in the international break and things like that. So we will miss that one and head straight over to our fan zone fan focus.
Hiya. I've actually prepared for mine, unlike Colin. So, oh, stop it, Colin! Don't take it to heart. Where to start? I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll start by closing something off. That's what we're going to do this week. And what we're going to close off is a post that came off the back of the Burton pod, which is Ian Ebbett the right man for the job?
You've gone there again with that. Jeez.
It caused some right drama this week, that.
Brandon, if you're watching this, don't clip this bit because it's not worth the hassle. Just leave this one out of your little clips, please.
No clipping, please.
Ebbett How many interactions did it get, Ben?
I think that tweet was viewed 50,000 times.
You got to put a bit of context on it again for people who are still maybe not have misunderstood that.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about.
So let's let me deal with it. So one of our regular viewers, listeners, contributors, Mr. Andrew Ashworth, it was not his opinion. He referenced countless opinions across social media, which included the hashtag #EvertOut, which questioned whether has Ian Evatt reached his ceiling as our manager? Can he take us any further? You get the picture. So we clipped that segment and we put it on Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. Sorry, X. And pretty open, and it got a lot of traction. Somebody said, "Why is it up here? It's the clicks." Well, yeah, guess what? It was, because clicks equal engagement, which equals debate, which equals conversation, and which is healthy in my mind.
That's why we're here, people.
Yeah. Guess what? So, and thank you to everybody who put their opinion forward, and I think it was overwhelming in its outcome, in the sense that we've got Super Ian Evatt, etc., which was ringing around the Reebok yesterday.
Yeah,
it was all the chants yesterday were very heavily driven to Ian, and I'm here for that. I'm here for it.
Yeah,
that should be indefinite now.
Yeah, so we've all, still, if you've still got doubts, absolutely fine. Jeez, you know what I mean? It's an opinion, and you're entitled to it, and we respect it. Simple as that. I think one of the comments which came out, which stood out for me, and I think we mentioned it to the person who contributed this, which is Tom Gregory. Thanks, Tom. I think he put a really, really good point forward and put it forward really well, which was, do we need more support and input from a sports psychology point of view when looking at big games? And I think it's a valid point, because historically, aside from maybe 2 or 3 games and yesterday, we don't tend to get particularly positive results against teams there or thereabouts in the top 6 with us. So I think that's a really good point. And I think it may be something that we look at, and this is me giving an opinion. It's all a hypothetical. Maybe it is something that we look at moving forward. And something innovative that we introduce from a sports psychology point of view to strengthen it. I think yesterday proved that when needed, we can do it. It wasn't the best performance, but when we spoke at the beginning of the season about have we got it, and that is getting results, just getting results, I thought we did that really, really well yesterday. But I think it's a really good point that you made, Tom. So, so we're not going to put it to bed, because guess what? We ain't going to win every game this season, and it will come into question again, and people will throw it back into the mix again, and that's fair. And
yesterday, Ian's suit was back. The players are in tracksuits, but Ian was in his suit again.
What a day to do it with bloody roast.
Bit of psychology, maybe for him. That who knows?
Yeah. He's
very ironing his shirt, laughing.
Yeah. Is that his iron? It's a big thing for Evatt. Obviously, he reads a lot. Anybody who listens to interviews and podcasts and such like, he's very, very big on that. He takes a lot of inspiration from US coaches in the NFL, for example, and he's big on that psychology bit, and he's learning. So, but I'm sure it will come up again. So,
next topic, Chris, have we got anything else?
Yeah, we've got a few here, Cole. I like it. The next one is from our friend Monkey Magic. in Florida. Just slip that in there. Lack of defensive cover on the bench. Yeah, definitely. Only Will Forrester as a defensive player, bringing on Mendes Gomez as a wing back. I think also emphasised that we had no goalkeeper. So if it was Baxter who was sent off, geez, that could have been interesting yesterday. It was quite a brave decision by Everett to load the bench as he did. I think it was a tactical thing. Was it a risk? Yeah. Could it have gone wrong? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting point that. And
Where was Iredale yesterday?
He was injured.
Picked up a knock on Tuesday, apparently. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I thought he dropped him because I thought he'd been very poor the last couple of games. So I thought he dropped him.
But
although having said that, he was all right against Middlesbrough. So
he played really, really well against Middlesbrough, all considered. So yeah, we need to keep an eye on that, I think. So thanks for that, Mr. Magic.
The young lads who've got along from West Brom, fullback, left-sided centre half,
Zach Ashworth. Who
Also
had a very good game against Middlesbrough.
He was my man of the match against Middlesbrough. I thought he was brilliant.
And he was injured, was he, yesterday? Was he?
I don't know.
He got cluttered two or three times.
I'm sure both him and Iredale have picked up knocks on Tuesday, but he got absolutely battered, didn't he, on Tuesday?
He did, yeah. He's for a lad who's quite slight of frame. He's quite a physical player. I like him. There's some comments in the chat that sort of substantiate that. Well, it is my son, so yeah. So Everett right man, we've done that. Lack of defensive cover. CMG at right back. If anybody can shed any light on that, because I think what Colin was saying earlier is a very valid point, that there was definitely a role for Mendes Gomez yesterday, and it wasn't at right back. So yeah, anybody who can. And bizarrely, there's a gentleman who sits behind me in the East Lower who is really knowledgeable from a coaching point of view. I think he coaches himself, and he actually called it 15 minutes before it happened. So there's obviously something there that maybe is, tactically above my level. I don't know, but he called it 15 minutes before it even happened.
I think he must have thought that we would have got that. We were going to get that third goal.
Yeah.
And he would have been the influencer to enable us to do that.
Yeah. I do think when Cogley went off, I think he'd just been involved in a challenge, and he picked the ball up for a throw-in, and he looked to hold his back. And shortly after Mendes Gomez came on, the only thing I can think of as to why Randell didn't come over and we brought on perhaps Ashworth was Mendes Lang was really, really problematic on that left side. And Randell, I thought, dealt with him really, really well, both throughout the first and the second half. Randall's a quick lad, but so is Mendes Lang. So that, for me, I think was the only justification that I made, and thought to myself that perhaps that's why Mendes Gomez would have come on. But like Colin said, as an outlet on that right-hand side, just to beat a man and get forward, I think Mendes Gomez is probably a man.
Just to carry it, weren't it? That's obviously what his thought process was. To get us up the pitch, carry it, take men on, and because they were tired, weren't they? So it does logically it makes sense to have brought him on. But that battle, Randall Williams and is it Mendes Lang? Is that
Mendes Lang? Yeah.
That was the key battle, I thought, before the game started. I thought if we win that duel between them two, which we did, we'll come out on top. Because obviously that Mendes Lang he's no interest in defending, has he really?
No.
And nor has really Randall Williams when you compare it all. So yeah, it was a good battle that. Did very well.
The only other points that we have amongst many, many others, Tomo67 being more clinical in front of goal, and I think we showed that in the Lincoln, Cheltenham and Fleetwood games, that we seem to have shaken that sort of lack of cutting edge. But I think yesterday albeit a lot of it was tactical because they'd gone down to 10 men. I think we as mentioned earlier, I think we regressed just a little bit. I'm not something that I'm going to start worrying about because I think we can slip back into that clinical kind of gear again. But yeah, I thought we could have been a little bit more clinical in front of goal. And finally, Alex, he wanted the subject of Sheehan being raised. And I think we've already done that.
Done it.
Man of the match section. He was
as beautiful yesterday on that pitch as Angie's background and behind.
I was just going to say, have you seen the sky? Look how pretty it is.
It was essentially Josh Sheehan yesterday, that sky behind Angie's.
It's so pretty.
That's
for those who are listening on Spotify and Apple, it's absolutely useless for you to
have a radiant late summer vista through Angie's patio doors in a kitchen. If that describes it well on audio, then there you go.
Oh, if you want to know what that looks like, just watch back Josh Sheehan's highlights from yesterday.
Yeah. Comparable. And that's it from me this week.
Well, I think that's just about it from all of us. A relatively shorter episode this week, but nonetheless, thank you all for joining.
We have had a comment on Twitter that I want to raise before we shoot. Leslie, we need to get Ian Evatt on the podcast.
Oh, now, God. We'll have a job. But
Ian Evatt on the podcast, but we have got another guest on Wednesday, haven't we, Ben?
We certainly have. If you are keen to tune in, then George Johnston will be joining us on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. So if you fancy sitting down with us for an evening with Georgie J, then you can do exactly that.
Come over and give him a big virtual hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to.
Big virtual hug.
And if you don't want to come on, are you mad?
Or busy.
Seriously?
Busy. Maybe busy, Chris.
You may be busy, but you need to manage your time better, don't you?
I think Sam Dawson there has summed it up. What a guest.
It is. And it's a bit of a landmark guest for us because it's our first established current Wanderers player on the pod. And that's not through lack of effort. Obviously, when you're bringing in current players, there are a number of loopholes and hurdles that you need to get over in order to
brick walls.
Because so
doing it all for you guys. So bear that in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course we are. That's what it's all about, making it relevant. So Wednesday, 7:30.
We'll see you all on Wednesday.
Yes.
If you're not working, if you're not busy, there's no other football on, I don't think, is there on Wednesday? So you're not going to be using that as an excuse. So come and say hello.
Yeah. And
indeed.
hopefully Liam we will get him to get his Papa John's trophy medal out.
Yes, we'll preempt him on that one.
And see what we can do.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us. We will catch you on Wednesday. Be there or be square or be busy, as Carl says. But yes, we can't wait and we hope you will join us. But for now, that's all from us. Take care and we'll see you in the next one.
Well, good evening.
Bye-bye.